All you Germans right now are probably like, what is she talking about? What is that? That's a binder, dude. Well, yeah, it's a binder, but what the heck was this thing? What is this? Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm in my son's room right now because I wanted to show you my talent for creating a Canadian bedroom. Anyway, if you've not been here before, I'm Jenna. I'm a Canadian who's been living here in Germany since 2014, and I basically share all of my tips and tricks about moving here to Germany, relocating. I mean, I've been here for 8 years now, and I have really gone through the ropes. If you're planning on moving to Germany, you can check down in the description below. There is a link to a free 17-page checklist that goes through step by step exactly what you need to do before moving here in order to get started and in order to avoid as much mistakes as you possibly can relocating here to Germany. So you know those like typical culture shocks that we share over here on YouTube? I think every YouTuber has done a video like this. I know mine has already reached over 300,000 views, which is insane. I'm not going to be talking about those today. What I want to talk about today is over the last 8 years, I have really documented some of these like small minor things that nobody really talks about but are so typically German that it makes me giggle. So let's start off with the Hausschuhe or house shoes, you know, slippers. This for me is so stereotypical German, it really does make me giggle. Every time I go into somebody's house and I take off my shoes, which I should also mention, a lot of people think taking off your shoes is super German, but for me, I don't consider this German because in Canada we do the same thing. Every time we watch like American TV shows in Canada, we look and we're like, why are those people sitting on that person's bed with their shoes on? I still don't understand. Like, I guess they have to wash their sheets all the time. Anyway, taking your shoes off is totally normal, but we just wear our socks around our house. It's okay, you know, our feet don't get cold, but in Germany, people are so worried about your feet getting cold, and you can have like guest house shoes and like a big slipper. You know which ones I'm talking about, that are hanging at like the front door in every stereotypical German house filled with like 8 different pairs of slippers for the people who are coming to visit. Well, every time I go in, I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, I'm fine. My feet aren't cold. If they were, I would have worn thicker socks, but my feet aren't cold. Something else that I actually only just recently realized is that a lot of Germans actually have their spot at the dinner table. That's not to say that that's not the case in North America. Typically it is. But as a guest sometimes, when you sit in somebody's seat and it's their specific seat, you might get actually told to move. So this has happened to me probably 3 or 4 times, not just within my own family, but within other situations as well, at friends' houses, at other family members' houses. It is an awkward thing for me because for me, I'm not really used to it. Usually in Canada, you have your designated seats for your typical like weekday dinners. But if someone comes to visit, well then they can sit wherever they like, it doesn't matter. But in Germany, you actually might be told, no, like this is so-and-so's seat, can you get up and move over there, please? Has this ever happened to anybody else? It's really interesting that everybody has their secured seat, and not just for like weekday dinners, but also when you have company over. Now this third thing that I'm gonna mention might be a European thing, but as I've been driving around different countries in Europe, I tend to notice that in Germany, maybe it's because it's a very central hub, you guys can tell me if you have any other better explanations for it, but I find that the highways are just packed with trucks. Of course, we use trucks a lot more often here than we would in Canada, but unless you're driving on a Sunday, because trucks are not actually able to drive on Sundays because it's their day of rest here in Germany and they'll be parked off at the side of the road, the highways are just always packed with trucks. And every time I see a traffic jam full of trucks, I'm just like, gah, welcome to Germany. Anyone else feel my pain? But there is one thing that when this does happen, I find it really, really interesting, and I've asked my husband before, that when there's a traffic jam, you start to notice that instead of the typical German thing, which I love by the way, which is everybody drives on the right lane unless they want to pass. Well, in Canada, you pass on the left and the right. And when I was driving there a few weeks ago back in Canada, I was like, holding on to dear life and being like, no, like people are passing me every which way. I don't know what to do with myself. Here in Germany, it's just so much more relaxing, or at least they have the feeling. I'm actually going to get a vehicle soon, so maybe I'll do an update afterwards on how I actually felt about driving here. I know that's also super stereotypical YouTuber, but you know, it might have to be done. Anyway, instead of driving on the right during a traffic jam, you'll notice that a lot of cars like separate. So there'll be some on the left and some on the right, and there's space in the middle. And I was like, why is there space on the middle? And my husband explained that it was like a Rettungsweg, so like that was where the ambulances or a fire truck would come through if they need to, versus in Canada it's just like a hell of a sloppy mess where like cars just don't know what to do, and as soon as you hear the sirens here, it's just like so smooth, like they've planned it for their whole life. So props to you Germans. I think that you do a really, really good job at this, and I'm always super, super mind blown at how smoothly everything works out on the highway when there is an emergency. Also, I kind of had to bring up the topic of cigarettes because for me, at least coming from Canada, this is something that's very prominent here. I know we've talked about that before and people are like, it's not the way it used to be, you know, a lot less people smoke nowadays in Germany, which is excellent. But because I'm coming from Canada where I feel like no one smokes, it's just too cold in the winter time to go outside and want to smoke. Of course people smoke, but not as many as they do here in Germany. I find it really interesting that a lot of people who do smoke here in Germany, they buy their own little packs of tobacco and then they'll roll it themselves. And I don't smoke, but I found it so interesting. And at the beginning I used to like ask my sister-in-law, like, can I practice? Like I wanna learn how to do that too. I thought it was so much fun. So maybe that's why more people smoke here, because it just looks like something that would be so fun to do. No, I think that must be just me. But on the topic of cigarettes as well, I do have to say that kids start smoking here really, really young. Like I'm talking average 12 years old, and for me, I'm just like, can't even fathom my son smoking cigarettes. And I know that at some point it will happen where he tries his first cigarette and it's gonna be a lot earlier than it typically would be in Canada. But I ran into a couple kids here in the playground once with my son playing on the playground when he was 2 years old, and this 10-year-old boy looks at me and he's like, ja, ne? Was willst du? Also ja, ich bin 10 Jahre alt und er ist 11 Jahre alt und wir rauchen. Wir rauchen trotzdem, huh? And I was just like, okay. I'm leaving you guys alone. I'm not judging. I wasn't even staring at him. I think he just wanted to make a point, like, we're cool, we're smoking. Don't smoke, kids. Anyway, on a funny and last note, here's my last super random but super stereotypical German thing, at least for me, and that is the binders. Hold on, let me show you. So you've got my binder. And then the first time I opened a binder, I was like, what is that? And now all you Germans right now are probably like, what is she talking about? What is that? That's a binder, dude. Well, yeah, it's a binder, but what the heck was this thing? What is this? I've been here 8 years, and for 7 of those 8 years, I would take this out and I would chuck it in the garbage until one day my husband's like, where are all the clips? Why'd you throw them out? They're there for a reason. And I was like, yeah, but what reason are they there for? I mean, I kind of understood that, you know, right now it's unlocked and your papers go everywhere, but then when you do that and you lock it, like it's pressed down, and I guess it's like, I don't really know. I mean, it is cool rather than like having everything flop around, but at the same time, I guess when you grow up without having that little clamp, I'm like, what is this? You're crazy Germans. It's probably the same in Europe, I'm not sure. You guys can let me know if you've lived in another European country. I personally have been to many European countries but never actually bought in a binder, so maybe it's not German. For me it just is, because after 8 years I finally figured out what that strange thing was for. What about you guys? What would you say is super typically German from your experiences moving here, whether you're a German or an international? Again, if you're moving to Germany, I also have a freebie checklist for you. I have already included it down in the description link below, and you can go through this 12-step checklist that's 17 pages, step by step, to make sure that you relocate at ease without any problems. That's it for me, guys. Vielen, vielen lieben Dank und wie immer, bis später.